Hello and welcome to the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on the Believe Network. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and thank you for joining me here on Thursday evening. A little later than I normally like to be. I was working on some technical difficulties this evening as the computer gremlins were causing havoc, but we got it all fixed. We adapt, we adjust, and improvise. And we're going to talk a little bit of Indiana and Louisville as the Hoosiers have the daunting task of facing the Cardinals this Saturday afternoon in Lucas Oil Stadium, a neutral site game for both teams. But as you heard this week, this will be the only time these two will play as IU has canceled the other two remaining games of the contract between them and Louisville, and forcing the Hoosiers to look for a different type of game in the preceding years. And I don't uh, say I don't blame them. I like these type of games though because of proximity, and actually the Hoosiers are, I believe, 3-0 against the Cardinals in this series. I think the last time they played may have been in 85 and 86, both wins for the Hoosiers, but IU has canceled both of those remaining two games on the contract, and therefore this will be the only time these two play. And the Cardinals are led by former Purdue head coach Jeff Brohm, who went back home to Louisville, his alma mater, where he was a quarterback. Had a lot of success there playing for Howard Schnellenberger back in the day. And I have to say that Jeff's got him a pretty exciting football club, and we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a second. A couple things you can help me out with: hit that subscribe button, as well on YouTube. You can hit that little bell and be notified when I get the videos out to you here via the Believe Network. I try to come with you to you on Mondays and Thursday nights. Mondays being a recap of Saturday's previous game, Thursdays being a preview for the Hoosiers' next opponent on Saturday. We'll do this all throughout the season. And we'll talk also a little bit of recruiting as we move through the season this year, as we keep abreast of what's happening in the recruiting game, as a lot of things have changed over the years, not only in recruiting. We've got the NIL as a big part of the equation now down at Indiana. I know they've worked very hard in establishing the collectives as well. We may talk a little bit about that down the line. But if you could hit that subscribe button on YouTube and the notification bell, that'll be greatly appreciated. Also, if you could follow us on Twitter at Hoosier Tailgate 55 on Twitter, give us a follow and share our content. I'd greatly be appreciated so we can get the videos out to as many fans and people who love the Hoosiers throughout the state and even nationally, and they can use Hoosier Football Tailgate as their number one source to get all the football information throughout the year on the Hoosiers. I appreciate that help. We also have a Facebook page, Hoosier Football Tailgate. Just got that up and running as well. You can find us there. And like I said, at Twitter, and then, of course, on YouTube, the Hoosier Football Tailgate on YouTube as well. And I think we've got everything covered there thus far, so we can proceed on. So I appreciate you bearing with me on that. We already talked about canceling the next two games with UofL. The other thing that happened this week happened basically on Monday at the press conference, where Tom Allen made the decision on QB1. Taven Jackson will be the starting quarterback going forward for the Indiana Hoosiers, as he set both Taven and Sorsby down and spoke to both of them. I think it's quite important that both of them are ready to play at any given moment, especially Brendan. When I was a quarterback coach at Ball State, I wanted both of my quarterbacks to have the mindset they were both going to play. You're one snap away as a backup of going into the game, and the worst thing could happen is you not be prepared to go into a game when your team needs you the most. So I got a great feeling about both these young men. I think they're team players, number one. Number two, I think Coach Bell and his staff will have them both ready to play at the as needed, in terms of if there's something that happens. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing will happen to the Hoosier quarterback this year. Of course, we've been fighting the injury bug over the last 3 or 4 years, but Taven Jackson will get the reins. The redshirt freshman from Center Grove, will get a chance to go home and get his second career start against the University of Louisville there in Lucas Oil Stadium, where he has had some success. Well, tonight we're going to do a little bit of a previewing of Saturday's game. We're going to talk a little bit of offense, a little bit of UofL's defense, and of course, Griff's keys to victory for the Hoosiers. First of all, I want to start with looking at uh, Indiana's offense against Louisville's defense, and we'll take a first look here at the stat breakdown for this game in terms of where both teams are at after two games of the year. Of course, Indiana's 1-1, having lost to Ohio State and then beating Indiana State last week. Louisville, 2 wins, 2-0 on the season, beating Georgia Tech week 1, 39-35. And then, of course, their big win on Thursday night against Murray State. But if you look at these offense and defense, offensively right now, the Hoosiers are averaging just 22 points a game, 142 yards on the ground right now. Again, that is something that's going to have to vastly improve. Throwing wise, 213 yards on the year. Big component of that is no interceptions at this point. Total yards, 355 on thus far after two games. Third down conversions, been very good for the Hoosiers, 55%. And although they're at 33% on fourth down, they've only really done that 3 times this year, only doing 1 of 3. Now, when you look at Louisville's defense, very similar defense to the Hoosiers, very stout, very quick up front. They play fast, they're strong. They're scoring defense, 17 points a game, only 134 on the ground, 192 through the air, 327 overall. And their third down percentage is pretty good at 33%, which means they're putting a lot of offenses in third and long. Fourth down chances, 50%, but only been 2 times has an opposing offense gone for it on fourth down against the Cardinals thus far this season. So you can see IU is going to face a very, very good Louisville defense. And looking at their defense here before we throw on some highlights, they got a great defensive line anchored by Tell and Ashton Gillowette, 6'3", 270-pound junior is Ashton, and Des Tell, 6'1", 290 junior there. Their other defensive tackles per year, 6'3", 270. And then a defensive end, Heron, at 6'4", 240. Or also, you may see a Cam Wilson there. And then another gentleman, a name that may sound familiar to the Hoosiers, Popeye Williams, is on their depth chart at one of the defensive ends, 6'3", 250-pound sophomore. He is from Westfield High School, and he is at Louisville with Jeff Brohm. And the other familiar faces are on offense for the Cardinals, and we'll talk a little bit more about them later. Jake Plummer is back with Brohm, who was with him at Purdue, as was Brady Allen. The Gibson Southern product is also at Louisville with Jeff Brohm. And so you got a little bit of a flavor of Indiana in the equation for the Cardinal. And but I want to take a look tonight a little bit at this Louisville defense and throw up some video here right now. We're going to see right here, Louisville is predominantly a 4-down front, 4-3. Now, they'll mix some 3-man front stuff in passing situations. They do like to pressure you. They'll bring 6. They'll bring 5 on occasion. Never really seen them totally sell out, but that's not saying they can't. I look at them as a pressure defense, and they're very good with what they do. Here's a situation here, a 3rd and 4, not very far, and they're coming after you. They're bringing 6, going, man, you got to be aware of this and make sure you got good protection ready for you here. As in this instance here, this quarterback, and the way this is setting up, this guy right here is going to be free because they're free. The back is going to go over here, and they're releasing the tight end. So in that case, he really needs to be thinking right here to the tight end quickly or something over here. If you hold it too long, like he does here, he gets outside and makes something happen and gets the first down because Purdue gets caught not containing the quarterback there. But you got to be aware what's in front of you. Here, they're trying to run some kind of a quarterback counter type of concept off a misdirection. I like the play concept, but it's awful difficult when you've got a defensive end coming full bore at you here. That's Gillowette coming off the edge here, making this play. As you see, the Cardinals coming hard and fast with their defensive front and get a big time negative play there. Those are some of the things that Indiana is going to have to stay out of. As you can see a little bit closer up here, Gillowette is a very skilled, very powerful defensive lineman that can make a lot of things happen up front for Louisville. Here's another 3rd and 6. Going to bring 5 this time. Coming with 5 going to man free. You can kind of get the they're playing a kind of a man up, I guess you could say here. But what you got to be aware of is that they're bringing 5 and they're getting pretty good pressure with just 5. Here's where the quarterback, feeling that pressure, had a chance to make a play one-on-one, and Louisville does a good job of defending it on a 3rd and 6, which is a very manageable down for them as a defense. So this is just a different look from that end zone angle. As you can see how they're coming with their backers, playing some man in behind it. So you got to be able to run some good man routes when the opportunity presents itself, and the quarterback has to be aware of that and get the ball in and out of his hands to prevent sacks and help that offensive line out. Here's another 2nd and long situation here. Here's Louisville coming off pretty strong, beating Murray State off the ball. And you watch this defensive end down here at the bottom, how he just basically plays his responsibilities, doesn't wholehearted chase, because he would also have the quarterback on any type of boot. And then defensive linebacker gets off blocks, reads his key, and makes a play in the backfield for about a 2-yard loss. So again, very strong defense. Here's another passing situation, 3rd and long. They're going to rush 4 and play kind of a 2 deep shell. They're going to run a little game on the inside, as you can see there, and do a good job of letting the ball get completed underneath, get the pressure on the quarterback, but never give the opportunity for Murray State to get the first down. They did get some turnovers this game, some fumbles. On this one, you're going to see they just totally messed up the handoff. And this is one thing that can't happen. You just cannot let this happen where you're not doing a good job of seeding the football into the running backs or wide receiver's belly and putting the ball on the turf. Here's another good example of Louisville's defensive front really getting off the ball good. And Murray State not doing a very good job, and Louisville dominating up front. One thing the Hoosiers have to be able to do is go on different snap counts to keep Louisville off balance, use the screen game as well to slow down their rush or draw. Again, 3rd and 11, they're going to rush 4 and play coverage. Again, good pressure, except they don't keep their leverage on the quarterback. He kind of gets outside of it. But they were able to make the play coverage and not give up the first down at all on that. And so, again, it's something that Indiana's going to have to be aware of. Now, here's a situation where Murray State does a pretty good job in blocking. Of course, you may call this a hold right here. Gets that hand wrapped around him, but did a good job of getting north and south, splitting them, and getting a really good 10-yard gain there on first down, and putting themselves in a situation where they got a first down on that aspect of things. We'll come back to this in a moment offensively, but against that defense, you can see very strong, very physical. They do a good job in their front four and their hand placements. They do a good job in their gap responsibility. Overall, just a really solid defense that will give Indiana some problems if they don't execute offensively and get into a lot of third and longs on Saturday. So they're going to have to figure out ways to get a decent run game going on Saturday afternoon there in Lucas Oil to keep that Louisville defense on their heels, because if they can really start getting themselves into a rhythm, it's going to be a long day for Indiana in that regard. Now, let's take a look here at the stat breakdown for the Indiana defense compared to Louisville's offense on the year. Right now, after 2 games, of course, Indiana only surrendering 15 points a game. They gave up 28 to Ohio State and really gave Indiana State nothing other than the 7 points that was returned on a fumble recovery, returned for a touchdown. Only 107 yards total yards rushing. Now, 72 yards was the average Saturday for Indiana State, but you can tell after 2 games, only giving up 107.5 yards a game, and that's included against the very good Ohio State team, and only 129 yards passing per game. Again, good production out of the defense against the quality opponent in Ohio State. And then they very much dominated Indiana State last Friday night, only giving up 17% on third down conversions, which tells me from a coach's perspective, they're getting very good efficiency out of their first and second down defense. And they are forcing a lot of third and long situations for the opponent. That's very good. And they've only had fourth down occasion where the opposing offense has gone for it twice, getting one of those. So really not a very good statistical standpoint there from the fourth down, but I really love that third down scenario there. Louisville's offense, though, they're very high powered, led by Jake Plummer, the senior that I believe transferred to Louisville this past spring from Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. He leads that with 3 really good, solid running backs with Jahar Jordan, Maurice Turner, and Isaac Giordano are the 3 top running backs for the Cardinals, scoring about 48 points a game. Look at the rush and pass, almost identical, 285, 296. That is very good offensive production, averaging 582 yards per game thus far, and that's against the Georgia Tech team. That's a pretty decent team. I wouldn't call them a top team in the ACC, but still a very solid Georgia Tech defense. But Louisville right now offensively very explosive in the run game, and they're getting big plays in the passing game. Third down, you can see they've really struggled in their third down scenarios, which means in some cases they're either getting first down on first or second down with that offense, or they're getting into situations where it's third and very long, and they're only getting about 23% on that. But analytically, Brohm is an analytics guy. If there's a scenario where fourth down is advantageous for him to go, he's going to go. And thus far, they're at 80% on that. And I know that's more than 10 times, I believe, thus far on the year they've gone for it on fourth down and gotten it. So 80%. So the Hoosier defense is really going to have to play solid defense on first and second and third downs and limit the opportunities on fourth for the Cardinals, because they are a team that will go for it if they're given that opportunity on Saturday at Lucas Oil, as you can see by that statistical analysis there. Want to show some Louisville offensive clips here as I get my quick cut pulled up and loaded for us to be able to show this. And this is their game again against Murray State that happened last Friday night. And this is one of their scores from inside the one where they really just powered it up and went. Here we get them in a more realistic situation here. What I'm pointing out here is the defense for Murray State. Really bad gap responsibilities, got out of gaps. This time they're going to have 2 guys get in the gap, him and him, which is going to enable him who sees it and he bounces it right into the void here, and there's nobody out here, and it leads to about a 60-yard gain because Murray State is out of gaps. And again, defense isn't overly that complicated if you stay in your gaps and you read and do your assignments. But when you don't, these are what happens, and these are the catastrophic plays that can give you fits for a defense. Here's a 2nd and 13. Again, Brohm really likes the quick game, does a great job in terms of how he draws it up. You're going to get a slant up here at the top, and that is I can't on this one. This may be Thrash getting this one here, but Brohm does a great job knowing that Murray State likes to get a man, so he runs what I call a swing control guy and gets this linebacker to come to open this spot in here. And you're going to see Plummer rip it in between two. And next thing you know, it's a 65-yard touchdown reception for Thrash and puts Louisville up by a score of 21-0. And those are the type of cheap plays or big plays you got to stay out of against Louisville because they have the capability to do that rather realistically on Saturday if you give them that opportunity. Well, I'm not sure what all happened there, but we're back to the most important thing again. Murray State getting themselves in a position where they're getting out of their gaps. They get two guys in gaps again, and this is what happens when you do that. You open it up, and big plays happen right here. This is Isaac Giard. No, that's not Giordano on that one. That's Jahar Jordan going for about 70 yards on a touchdown because their defense got out of their gaps again, and it led to a big play. Here's 3rd and 1, good hard run here where he just blitz them, and he gets up close for the touchdown here right before the middle of the 3rd quarter. But again, 3 really good running backs that can really get the job done for Louisville and Jeff Brohm. Offensive line, good physical, strong. They go 6'6", 6'4", 6'5", 6'4", and 6'7" across the front 4 positions there for Louisville. Here's one thing that Brohm likes to do. He loves the misdirection. He will do it. He'll dial it up. And here's one that goes for the touchdown where he catches Murray State overplaying some things, and they run a little toss reverse back to the Jordan kid for a nice little touchdown run. The other thing that Brohm likes to do as well, I guarantee it, he's going to take shots on Saturday. He'll take at least 3, if not 4 shots that he will have calculated into his game plan on Saturday. And we'll see some of that here coming up. Here's another nice run play where they just block Murray State. They block Murray State pretty good, and they split it right up the middle. That's Giordano getting the run there. Big, strong, physical back. He's 6'1", 225. The other two are 5'10", both about 190. Quite a bit different than Jalen in the backfield there. And they're big, they're strong, and they are fast. Here's a good play action pass that Brohm likes to do. Just hard play action, 2-man route, post with a deep crosser. Now, this doesn't result in a completion, but pass interference. And if Brohm can't get you on the deep ball, he's going to hopefully get you on the play action defensive pass interference. Another time where Murray State gets out of their gaps, back bounces it. Next thing you know, he's off for about another 15 to 20-yard run down the sideline. And so, again, Louisville's the type of team that you really got to be conscious of in terms of what they like to do on offense and defense. They play fast, they play physical, they're disciplined in their approach on both sides of the ball. Their defense is very disciplined in what they do. Like I said earlier, they'll come after you with a 5-man or 6-man pressure in their pressuring game, but on 3rd and long, they're going to play coverage and rush 4. and they're going to drop 7, or they're going to rush 3 and drop 8. So very calculated. And then, of course, Brohm, and analytically, he'll go for it on fourth downs that he feels it gives him an advantage to go for it, as it was shown there that he's been getting it 80% of the time this year thus far. So, again, good, solid opponent. I think it's going to be a really good test for IU in the sense that um, will give them a pretty good barometer on where they're at as a football team going into this game and coming out of this game. They're going to get a good idea of what they've got in their stable as an offense and a defense as they go through this game with Louisville. On defense, I talked a little bit about Ginn, Neal, and Alderman as their top 3 uh, tacklers on the year. And again, I think Brohm is still the gunslinger. The only thing difference for Brohm that he has at Louisville that he really didn't have much of at Purdue, he's got a running game. And that makes him much more dangerous as a play caller, because when he's got a running game going, he can start mixing in misdirection, play action, throw it over your head after you start getting up in there tight with your safeties. Those are the things you got to be aware of against this type of team that Brohm has. All right, going to talk a little bit here on what I call the 3 are the keys, Griff's keys to win against Louisville on Saturday afternoon. Number 1, IU has to match Louisville's physicality up front on offense and defense. Has to. They have got to play a game that's physical in the trenches. They've got to match that against Louisville, or Louisville's going to run right over them. They also have to have a defense that is very sound in what they do, and thus far IU has been. And they must contain the running game, keeping good leverage, keeping gap awareness and soundness, and most importantly, do not give up cheap scores. They cannot give up the cheap scores against Louisville. Those are just game killers. And then they've got to find ways to get pressure on Plummer with only 4 rushing at times and being able to play coverage. And I think that'll be very beneficial for them if they can do that. And against this cat on Saturday, Plummer is a guy that I still think has a tendency to throw it to the opposite color jersey. And I do think if IU can do some things Saturday, get some pressures, get some things on him, he'll throw it to him, and IU can get some turnovers. Offensively, again, IU has to develop and find that run game. They've got to find ways to get a run game that they're going to find they can get 4 or 5 yards. And what play is that? Is it power, inside zone, counter, whatever that may be? Find ways to utilize it out of different sets, different formations, and they're going to have to find different ways to target Jalen throughout the day, not just as a running back. Put him out in the receiver's spot, run speed sweeps, do different things with him in the passing game, but find ways to target and get him the ball, as well as your talented wide receivers that are out there on the perimeter, because they're just as talented as well. You got Cooper out there. I know he had a big game Saturday. You got to find ways to get Camper involved, McCauley involved, and Carter as much as he can on Saturday. Lucas and Henderson are both definite a good 1-2 punch against Louisville's 3 running back rotational type of stuff. But if IU can find ways to run the football Saturday, that's only going to benefit them and also lessen the pressure on Taven Jackson and Taven and himself being the first opportunity to get back home as the true starting quarterback after being named Monday. He's going home. He's playing in Lucas Oil Stadium, a stadium that he's very familiar with from his time at Center Grove. Play within the framework of the offense, young man. Don't do anything that tries to do more than you're expected to do. Understand that the big plays will happen within the framework of the offense, and don't try to overly improvise, because when you start doing that, you're going to put yourself and your teammates in trouble, and that's when bad things happen. So play within the framework, be a good manager of the game, make good checks, get yourself in and out of bad plays and into good ones. So if you can do that, manager of the game, it's great. The other thing that I say that Indiana's going to have to do each and every week, not just this week, each and every week, they have got to find ways to win the kicking game, the hidden yardage in the kicking game. They've got to find ways to win that hidden yardage. And against a team like Louisville, it's going to be even more important, whether that's Jalen getting big returns, whether that's the uh, kick teams and their coverage setting up long fields for Louisville to go and short fields for the offense to go. The more times that they can win those games, the better. The hitting yards in that phase of the kicking game, the better, because IU is just not over. They're just not good enough yet, offensively or defensively, to lose a portion of the kicking game and overcome it. I think they have to be able to win the kicking game, and I know that that's a priority for Coach Allen and his staff, and it's got to be for the rest of the season. And hopefully, they can get a guy like Jalen loose on a couple big runs and not take costly penalties, which they have the last couple weeks in their kicking game. Well, that's going to do it for me here tonight. The Hoosiers are 10-point dogs to the Cardinals on Saturday afternoon down there at Lucas Oil Stadium. But I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. Remember to hit the like and the subscribe buttons and retweet, repost, however you want to call it now on the X platform. Of course, I told you about Facebook. We've got that going now, so you can find us on Facebook at the Hoosier Football Tailgate, Twitter at Hoosier Tailgate 55. My Twitter or X handle is at Coach Griff 55. You can follow both of those Twitter accounts or X accounts for all the detailed information on the Hoosiers, as well as our weekly videos that will be posted on that and YouTube. Mondays we'll recap. I'll be back Monday to recap this game against Louisville. And if you're heading down to Lucas Oil on Saturday, have a great, safe travel day. And let's cheer the Hoosiers on to a big victory over the Cardinals. Well, thanks again. That's going to do it for me tonight. I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith. This has been the Hoosier Football Tailgate on the Believe Network. Good night, everybody.